The Garner and Old Show, Tuesday night, Vince. No inside info, no contacts, no problem. How are you, my friend?
I'm great. What's better than a Tuesday night? We got a lot to talk about in terms of the Knowles. We're gonna. Why do I hear that?
I don't know, you sound normal to me, Vince. But listen, the only thing better than a Tuesday night Garner and Old is a double portion. So we will still do our normal Garner and Old on Thursday night at 7 o'clock Eastern time. So please join us for that as well. But tonight, there's been so much juice in the portal, so much excitement in the portal that Vince, we were texting the other day, we had to talk about it. So um, we call it the portal frenzy. I mean, it really is. It's been crazy. Before we get into the specifics, Vince, before we get into the names, um, the sentiment that I saw over the last 2 weeks has gone from anything on one side from fire everyone, we need recruiters here, we're not signing anyone, to all of a sudden today we've come full circle to people saying, oh look at all these big pickups. This is a really good selection. And Vince, I think the truth is somewhere in between.
Yeah, I agree. The problem, I think, is that we had a really bad December. We had a really bad December, and which is really sad because the beginning of December was fantastic. But then the snub happens. We hear about people not playing in the bowl game. People, going to get their season-ending surgery done to get ready for next year or get ready for the draft or whatever it is. There's not a lot of good news coming out. And, fans are normally impatient anyway.
Yep.
But, add on to the fact that we had all that bad negativity going on, and people were chomping at the bit to get any kind of news to make them feel good, right? So, they're fans. We're all fans, and I don't want to say I was getting nervous, but it was like, come on, let's get something going here.
Yep.
But you and I both said, as soon as the bowl game was done, that we would start seeing some momentum in the portal. And that's what happened. And so if you're trying to, talk to your fellow Knoll friends and everybody's all up in arms about why we're getting this guy and why we're not getting that guy, relax, everybody. Relax.
And it comes down to, Vincent, you and I talked about this, and we talked about it in the channel as well. I trust the coaches. The coaches took a team that went from 5-6 to 10-2, 10-3 to 13-0. That coaching staff took that roster and transformed it into an undefeated season. If you can't justify and believe in a coaching staff that went 13-0, now it's fair to say that we can always expect improvements and things to always be getting better. It's part of the get 1% better every day mentality, right? But to say and make, I guess, grandeur claims that this coaching staff can't recruit, this coaching staff can't close the deal. Well, guys, this coaching staff already has gotten us to 13-0, something that only, and actually now, were we the only undefeated team left in the Power 5 after all said and done? Michigan, right?
No. Michigan.
Besides the national championship.
Yeah, right.
So look around the country.
Yeah, look around the country, and it's tough. It's tough for us because we're so focused in on the Knowles, right? And we're only seeing the things that are happening or not happening with our team. It's what I tell everybody all the time. Look around, look outside the garnet and gold, and just see every team dealing with the same things. We are not immune to that. We would like to think that we are, but this coaching staff knows what they're doing. And we said in our show last week, would I like to see some more momentum in the high school recruiting in terms of defensive linemen, linebackers? Sure. You'd be silly not to want that. But I'm also not going to sit here and say that this coaching staff doesn't have a plan, because we know they do. We know they do, and they've proven it year over year that not only do they pull in the right people, but they also develop them.
Correct.
So, I mean, I'm not worried about it. I mean, there's still some holes to fill. There always is,
Yeah.
and even the best teams, there are holes to fill. By the way, if you're watching right now, if you wouldn't mind, sharing this out to all of your social media, share the link out so people can join in and be part of the talk here. Would
Vince,
we
I
would
also want to
appreciate that?
mention now we bring regular comments in on the show all the time. People saying hello, people making comments on things we're talking about. But if you want to be featured on the show based on the topic we're talking on, don't get crazy. But if you want a question or a topic to be brought up in more of a long form answer from me and Vince, aside from just reading your comment, well, Garden Old now has super chat in YouTube. So if you're in YouTube and you're watching this and you want us to cover a topic of your choice for a little bit of an extended period of time and go into it and really get in depth with what you want to hear about, leave us a super chat and we will read that. We will never stop bringing fan comments out, just general comments on the show because we appreciate the audience. But if you want to be part of the show and almost like a producer of the show and put the questions on the teleprompter, give us a little super chat. We appreciate it. It helps us keep the lights running, as it were.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's because this show is a fan show. It always was from the
Fan
very
funded, fan
beginning.
supported. Yep.
And that's where we are with that. So yeah, please do. And I'm just checking social media right now to see what's going on here. We're good. We're good. We're good. Because stuff's happening left and right
Yeah,
right
we've
now.
had big commitments already.
By the way, I see Jim Munir's back here uh, as a guest or as a watcher on the show. I saw Jim in another show as a guest the other day, and they were trying to say his last name and just say, "I got it right first."
We might need to have a conversation with Jim about some other stuff here soon because I
Yeah.
like what he brings to the table here. That's some good. Every single show, Jim, you bring quality stats, and for those that you aren't know what we're talking about, just stuff like this throughout our entire show. Last season, preseason Vegas ads had FSU over under win 7.5. Vince and I aren't pulling that stat. You know
No,
who
I
is?
mean
Jim.
we knew that.
Let's go,
Okay.
Jim, my man,
Ask and you shall receive, right? See, we
my
know
man.
that. We know that that was the over under with wins, but that was so long ago. Like I knew it at the time. But yeah, I mean that's overachieving, right? 7.5, yeah, whatever. We saw what happened. 13-0
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jim. And listen, we really, honestly, like every time
for the
we
power
don't,
bill.
we don't require it. We don't ask it much
Nah.
for it. But what we do say is thank you so much because this really is a fan funded show. So thank you. And if you want to have
Speaking
your
of
question, hey Jim, if you think of a question or something you want us to cover in the show,
yeah,
I know you just put for the power bill. It's a good, funny comment. But if you have a question or something you want us to cover, pop it in the chat and we'll feature it here.
by the way, speaking of power bill, being from Florida, um, there the power went out a couple times
First
today
thunderstorm. Yeah.
as the unheard of storm in early January comes barreling through the southeast. So if anybody that's watching has been part of that fun today, let us know what you kind of went through there because it was crazy here. My wife and I actually jumped into the closet
Yeah.
underneath the stairs during the tornado drill, and it was scary.
Yeah, Vince, one thing I want to real quick, we're going to get into the details, Vince, of recruiting and the players.
Yeah,
One
yeah, we
real
are.
quick though, looking back on, I know my childhood and definitely your childhood, Vince. You grew up mostly in the '70s and '80s, right? In school and everything. Man, there was no cares given. We would be sitting in the portables, in the portable classrooms, and they'd be like, "Hey, if a tornado's coming, we just got to book it for the main building and then put your
Right.
hand you got to put your head between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye, essentially, right?"
Yeah, either that or, there's always a crawl space underneath the portable and that's where you're going, right? So if you're the slow kid that can't make it to the
I
to
was
the
Vince.
I wasn't going to say it. If you're the slow kid and you can't make it to the main building, You're
or fit.
diving underneath the portable.
Yeah, or fit. I would be the Wicked Witch of the West with my little feet like jiggling, can't get it free. That's fantastic.
Oh, Ed says we were fine here in Pensacola, but it looked like Panama City
Yeah, they got
yeah,
tornado.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's some bad stuff going on, and I saw some photos of that. I know my daughter who's going to Florida State. Their power was out for a long time today,
Yep.
and I work with a guy that lives in Tallahassee as well, and his power went out. He
Yeah,
said
we
it
had
was
a
the
spotted
wind was.
tornado by MacDill Air Force Base here in Tampa.
He said the wind was worse than most of the hurricanes or tropical storms that come through. So
Nice.
it was rough. It was rough.
Absolutely. Hey, Vince, let's get into some
Yeah, let's do
in-depth
it.
portal talk. So I know you have a graphic to share with us, but let's get
Yeah,
into it. What are your thoughts so far on the on the portal trail, as it were?
I mean, the deal is that we were waiting for a long time and now it's happening, right? It's been a flurry of portal additions to the team. And if you don't recognize the faces here, we'll kind of talk through them. I should have put the names here, but my limited Photoshop skills are not great. Um, the first one that we got in the transfer was who, Ryan?
Well, the first one I was most excited about. And we talked about it. I did a show, Vince. For those of you go back and watch, I did a
Yeah,
show this past
yeah,
weekend. It was Mr. Alabama himself, Earl Little Jr. Really excited about that one. I mean,
yeah.
when you
Um,
see a picture of that man, it's a grown ass man. That man is purebred. I mean, he is ready to go. He's a hoss, isn't he?
Yeah, Earl Little is the second from the left on the bottom row, right?
Mm.
He's a safety cornerback, um, 4-star from Bama, and he's gonna be a big deal, man, because Akeem Dent leaving the program, group not just leaving the program, graduating, getting moving on. And we all know the safety play at times this past season wasn't great. So here you go. But what I was referencing was who the first portal player was that we got,
Oh,
and that was Marvin
DJU
Jones Jr.
and Marvin James Jr. pretty much at the same, relatively to the same time. I mean, they were
Yeah,
within a couple days of each other, but no, Marvin Jones Jr. We had hoped was a guarantee, right? When we heard he entered the portal, I think everyone, and rightfully so, assumed Florida State was going to be the. By the way, if you don't follow Shea Tree Marvin Jones Sr.
right.
on
And you
Twitter,
should.
amazing account to follow. Please follow Marvin Jones. I love Shea Tree, but really, really cool guy. But some of the comments he made right when his son entered the portal made it pretty clear what we thought was going to happen. But then DJU, which by the way, now I enjoyed our friend of the
Top
fellow
right corner,
show,
by the way. Top
yeah,
right.
friend of the Renegade Report had his DJU's father on the
Yeah.
last night, which was, if you guys aren't subscribed to Renegade Report, really great channel, and they had DJU's family on last night. So go ahead and check out because his father is an interesting cat.
That interview was great.
Yeah,
Big Dave Uyangalele. And yeah, so go listen to that if you haven't already done so. And there's some great stuff that came out of that. And one of the things that I took from that is DJ was either Florida State or going to the league. That's it. There were
boom,
another.
Vince. Hold on, Vince.
All right. Well,
Michael
I
Newton,
appreciate
thank
that,
you,
Michael
sir.
Newton. Thank you. I started watching you guys about 3 weeks ago. I love the normal and truthful conversation. Yes, because that's what we have to deliver. I mean, that's our tagline is no inside info, no contacts, no problem. So we're not going to pretend that we know things if we don't.
Yeah.
But we are going to give you information and our opinion on it, and hopefully you guys will chime in too. But
But
thank
sorry
you,
to
Michael.
interrupt too. I'm sorry for interrupting. I promise everyone on this channel I will never use a air horn sound effect whenever we get super chats because there's a certain morning show of a channel I like very much that I cannot listen to because of the air horn at 6 a.m.
Yeah, maybe we'll have some clips of the Chiefs or something we can play.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Michael, thank you so much. What I was talking about was that DJ made a decision that he was either going to go to Florida. He was either going to be the Florida State quarterback or he was going to go to the league because he wants this is the place he wanted to be. And I think you and I, Ryan, when we were talking about this like about a month ago, Cam Ward or DJU, you got the upside of Cam Ward. But one thing I was saying was that you cannot really quantify someone with ability and leadership qualities that really, really wants to be here. Really, really wants to be here. So
Yeah,
love it.
he's a good personality. Everything I've read from his quotes since he committed, while he was interested, it was class, right? Pure class. Now, hey Vince, while we're on the topic of transfer portal quarterbacks, can we get into Miami?
Oh yeah, somebody put a. You got to find the comment that's up here. I read it. Let me find it here. It's early on. Let me throw this up here. Thomas Abel basically says Miami's garbage. They pick up a Pop Warner QB. We might have a friend of the program watching tonight who is a very close friend of mine and Ryan's, and he is a Miami fan, and he's legit. He's a Miami fan, but he's not your typical Miami fan. Like he's uh, he's not hanging banners for stupid stuff,
Yeah,
right? So,
level-headed.
yeah, he's a level-headed guy. But this is true, right? How many quarterbacks did we see their insiders telling are going to come to Miami? There must have been 7 or 8 of them
Yeah,
before they landed on HR puffing stuff.
Vince. What killed me is, Cam Ward. They wined and dined, right? Pieces out to the NFL. There was at minimum 3 other quarterbacks in the portal that they're insiders. Which, by the way, if you guys want a
A fun
very
one.
entertaining media personality for the Miami Hurricanes to follow, just Google search, bring up another tab, keep watching Garnet Old, bring up another tab in your browser and search for a touchdown Timothy. You will find the very first site to be one of the most entertaining and ridiculous news sites and media personalities that you've ever seen, in which case, every time he predicts something and it's completely incorrect, he says, my source was not incorrect. The coaches screwed this up. It was not his source and it was not him. And he just does that again and again. So follow Touchdown Timothy on Twitter. It's fan freaking tastic. But Vince, the second that came out and the comments and memes from Noel Nation about Miami's quarterback, my favorite one was before they got this guy. The only school interested was like Rhode Island U or something like that. Like,
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's easy to poke fun, right? Because there's so much that they do, so much that the fans do as well that just makes it easy to poke fun. Yeah, exactly. Cam thought Rick Ross was James Brown on CBS. So, yes, and here's another one. So, Timmy, I got to throw this at you. This is true. I can't believe Miami fans trying to compare their transfer QB to Verse just because they went to the same school. And if you look at the side by side rankings on them, like the quarterback is like in the 450s, and Jared Verse is like the second ranked edge, right? So yeah, I mean, they're not a lot to. They got a good recruiting class,
they do,
right?
yeah.
Their recruiting class was great. There's no doubt
They
about
have
it.
for a
But
while
they
now.
they've got a coaching staff that's more than suspect, right?
It's too
And
much.
they don't really know what's going on in terms of the quarterback spot. So anyway, back to Florida State because this is not the all Canes
Fitz, I'm sorry.
conference.
I was for probably 2 hours the other day on Twitter, just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling comment sections on the. I mean,
Yeah,
well done, Noah Nation. It's fantastic. Go
they
ahead.
never
Who's
disappoint.
who's the next one we want? Oh, by the way, before we go past DJU, I want to say something. Um, DJU, I do not believe will be an elite quarterback at Florida State. Now, I could be proven wrong. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, did I think Jordan Travis is going to be elite at quarterback? No. In fact, Vince and I had many conversations where we were very excited that Mackenzie Milton, before we knew that he couldn't stand, uh, was coming on the team, or at least mildly excited because we had just come from a terrible season, right?
There
Now,
wasn't a
so
lot to look forward to.
Yeah. Now, DJ, you can prove me wrong. I think he will be a good quarterback. And when I say good, I mean let's a Christian Ponder type, hype. Maybe some people will hype him up, but he's gonna be fine. Take care of the ball, complete some passes. Now, Christian Ponder went to the NFL, but it's because he was a smart quarterback that was studious, knew the playbooks, coached well. All he had a lot of those intangibles, and it seems like DJ you does too. But what I trust Mike Norvell and Tony Tokars is development of quarterbacks and getting the most out of a player. Some coaches try to mold players to their system. See Jimbo Fisher for the last 10 years or 20 years. Then you have coaches that mold their system to the players. And if anyone has watched a second of Florida State football the last 3-4 years, compare season 1, 2, 3, and 4 and how we ran our offense. None of the years looked alike. None of them.
Right.
So I trust that they will get the most out of DJU, and he will be a very good quarterback for us. He will not be a subtraction. He will be a plus player. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I agree. I also think that look at DJ and think about the best season he's had. Right? Was it this past season? Probably.
Yeah.
I think his Florida State season will be better than that.
Yes. Which, by the way, his
So
numbers were similar to Jordan Travis last year.
yeah. So like elite is subjective in a way, right? Because it depends on the cast around you. But I think DJ's decision to stay in school another year, and be further developed by this staff is going to pay huge dividends for him and for the team. I think he's going to have his best season yet. Um, we did get another commitment in the last hour or so, maybe an hour and a half, and it's a defensive lineman. Is a transfer from, was it West
West
Virginia?
Virginia. Yeah, West
Okay,
Virginia. Big
so
time player. Look at that guy. Look at again. Look at the guy. Go look. Just Google image search,
yeah, yeah.
and you'll be like, "That's a man." Oh my goodness.
So we're having to basically learn how to pronounce names that we have no business trying to know how to pronounce. But I'm going to give this a shot because who was it that asked? Oh, yeah, Jim asked us, how do we pronounce the new defensive end transfer's last name? I'm going to give it a shot here. I think it's Tomiwa Durajaye.
I'm gonna call him just Timmy. It's just easier for
TD?
me.
What about TD?
TD, DJU. I'm not pronouncing these names all season. I'm
Yeah,
just not. But uh,
Tomiwa Durajaye.
almost
Um,
as hard to pronounce as Deuce Span.
And what's interesting? Whenever you got some folks that have some really different last names, they tend to work out.
Yeah,
And I
I don't
think
know
this
why
is
that
a
is.
big pickup. So
So Vince,
he is not in the photo shot here. By the way, he came after my graphic skills were put to rest.
the size of that man, though, he might have not fit on this picture. That's a big hoss.
We'd have to make smaller photos, I guess. So who
He's
else
got
did we
good
get?
bend.
Let's talk about some more folks here. We talked about Earl Little. We talked about DJ. We talked about the new defensive end Durajaye. What about Malik Benson, wide
Mm,
receiver?
yeah,
In the top row, third one in the top row. He is an Alabama guy, and
there's a trend here, by the way.
he was choosing between Florida and Florida State, and my good sir made the right decision.
I've been saying it for a long time. Any Alabama players that enter the portal that are decent human beings, let's just take them because they know how to recruit, they know how to evaluate, they have gigantic players. And every time I see a picture of one of the players from their team that's transferring from Florida State or Georgia for that matter with Jared Verse, every single time you go, "Oh good lord, that looks different than much of what we have."
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
they're deep at the receiver spot. So some guys are not happy; they're not getting the touches. I saw somebody posted today or yesterday that our farm team has switched from South Carolina to Bama.
Yes.
Sounds great to me because we know that the people that they're pulling in there are top notch. So I'm excited about him. I'm excited about the other wide receiver, Jalen Brown. Um, Jalen Brown was from where was he from? Was
Ooh,
it LSU?
no, Jalen
Yeah,
Brown's from Louisiana.
yeah.
Yeah, yep, hometown Louisiana. So it's got to be LSU. Yeah.
LSU, good wide receiver there. And that is, let's see,
We got a kickoff
who's that?
specialist too, man. I'm so Vince, I am
Yes,
excited for this one. So kickoff specialist. His last name is also interesting. Go ahead, Vince.
Jalen Lucas. Yeah, Jalen Lucas.
We can pronounce Lucas.
We can. It's kind of easy to pronounce. I think he isn't he the brother of
George
Ja'Kai
Lucas.
Douglas?
Oh, no, my mistake. Sorry.
No, I think he's brothers, or he's related to one of the guys that's already on the team, and I don't recall who it is. I think it's Ja'Kai, but I'm not sure.
Hey, everyone, go look at his kickoff returns on
Yeah,
YouTube.
and he was from Indiana, I believe. Right? Is the
Yeah,
school that he was at?
shades of Greg Reed.
Yeah, it's nice. Devontae Brown, cornerback, um, transfer from Miami. So Devontae Brown was actually someone they were trying to get last year, and he was a transfer originally from UCF to Miami.
Hmm.
His Miami year didn't go so great, which a lot of players seem to have that happen to them there. And so he decided to bring it on to Tally. Um, so happy to have him because if the staff wanted him last year and they want him this year as well, like I said from the very beginning, I trust this staff. Um, who else are we missing here? Grady Kelly, who is the defensive lineman from Colorado State. Um,
Just stop right there, Vince,
bottom row.
because defensive line. I mean, we already had some players still on the team. We're solid now. We're good.
Yeah, I think Malcolm Ray left, went to Rutgers. I think who's going to continue to beat Miami like they did in the bowl game. So that's that. Did we talk through everybody in this image here? I think we
Hmm.
did.
One player I'm interested in that I haven't heard anything more about. Wasn't there a transfer from overseas?
Yeah, there's another trench player. Is the offensive line?
Yeah, he's
I think he must be
huge.
offensive line.
He's 6'7", 300 pounds, and I'm like, oh, good lord, please,
Yeah,
yes,
he's from the UK, and I think they're trying to work out a visit for him, but it's different. Obviously, he's coming from overseas, so that's a little bit different. So, but I think I think we got a good shot with him. So everybody's asking in the chat here, so we got to talk about it, right? We got to talk about linebacker.
You kick it
We
off
got to
first,
talk about
Vince,
it.
because
We got to
I
talk about it.
probably have the opposing viewpoint of many in this chat, so I want to let you go first.
Um, what can I say about this? I trust the staff. I really do. I really trust the staff. I mean, think about where Kalen Deloach started, right? And obviously it was a different staff at the time when he got here. But think of the development that happened there. Now he put in the work and he's got the ability. So I'm not saying that it couldn't have happened in a different place, but look what happened with him. Tatum Bethune already had some bits and pieces to what his game was. Look about how he developed,
Yeah,
right? Think about how DJ Lundy developed, and and so I'm confident in the coach's ability to develop the guys or further develop the guys once they get here. So if we're looking at linebackers, and then we have Blake, right, who was a
yeah,
freshman
and he was amazing for a
last year,
freshman.
and the way he came on toward the end, I think this offseason is going to be all about putting on the bulk, right?
Yeah,
That's super important. Um, and then who is the other linebacker that started to get some run toward the end of the season? Um, Omar Graham.
yeah, or Omar Graham Jr. Yeah, so. I'm getting your point, Vince, here because an important note here. everyone wants the team to be loaded across the board. So does every other team in the entire country. How many teams right now, Vince, count on your hand, can you say is truly loaded on every side of the ball in almost every position?
You're always plugging holes, or you're always trying to build your floor up higher. So, you know, right now, the linebacking core is the one with the lowest floor,
Yep.
right? So, um, but again, go back to what I say all the time. I have confidence in this staff, not only in how they develop people, but how they scheme with the people that they have.
Yeah.
So, um,
And if we
but we
left
do,
this,
we do have to do better
yes.
in the high school recruiting in terms of linebacker. We do. I'm not saying we don't, but it's both. I think it's both. Jim Munir says keep an eye on Scooby for a linebacker. Right? This is a University of Florida
Yeah.
kid that went into the portal. Um, so
Jim
yeah,
also
keep an eye on
says,
him.
tells everyone what we're going to be doing right after the show,
Right after this show.
watching
Yeah.
Wake Forest, Florida State.
By the way, it doesn't matter if school is out today in Tally. They're having the game tonight.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
they're
We
having
got
the
priorities
game.
here. Vince, my opinion on this is pretty cut and dry. If what the fans thought needed to happen with the staff was what happened with the staff, we wouldn't have the defensive coordinator we have right now.
That's correct.
Because a year ago, a lot of people, and they'll deny it now, were saying fire him, fire Adam Fuller, trash. And then we have this season, the defense. We thought the offense was going to have to carry the day, and maybe it would have if we hadn't had a ton of injuries. But we thought, oh man, offense puts up 40 or 50 points a game, even if the defense is average, which everyone was thinking it probably will be because Adam Fuller, will still
Right.
be all right.
Right.
The opposite, Vince, the at points in the season because of injury, the offense looked pedestrian later in the season, and the defense played out of their mind. And you cannot separate at this point after all these because it's not year one, it's not year two anymore. The players that were on that team, Adam Fuller brought in, Adam Fuller coached, and Adam Fuller had in the system. But if we were listening to fan sentiment in the knee-jerk reaction in the moment, Adam Fuller would have been fired 1 to 2 years ago. Now, the same thing applies here. I'm not saying that Randy Shannon's some amazing, the best linebackers coach in the country. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is the linebacker play I've seen, although not elite, has not been poor. Coaches get fired when their units that they coach and recruit for is poor. See, the best example I can give recently, uh, you know, Jacksonville just fired their entire defensive staff, Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yes, they did.
That is poor. If you've watched the Jaguars, that is like, oh my God, we can't stop anyone. So if Randy Shannon had been getting all his linebackers getting torched all year on every play, he would not be here right now. But he is a good coach. He does have a lot of connections here. Yeah, Dennis Christmas, Jaguar fan, probably one of the biggest Jaguar fans.
One of the biggest Jaguar fans I
God
know.
bless you, man. It was a definitely a bad situation. But I want to bring up another good point. Brett Taylor brought it up. Ron
Yes.
Dugans.
Yes. So, and here's the thing is, and people were asking for Adam Fuller to be fired even earlier this season while we were winning game after game after game. And what I keep trying to tell people, and I know I'm just screaming to the void, I get it, but they're winning games. Can they play better? Sure. And they gradually got better throughout the season. You imagine what it would be like if you were on a staff and at the end of your season that you went 13-0, that your head coach basically says, it's not good enough. We're going to have to let you go.
Yeah.
Why would any other assistant coach want to come in here?
Yeah.
So, are there pieces of of the process that need to get better? Yes. And I am, again, full confidence in this staff. If Mike Norvell is one thing, he is a 1% everyday guy. He is looking for the cracks in the armor. And so if these guys aren't like um, balls to the wall recruiters, like some that are out there, if they're
Yeah.
not that, then you have to surround them with the right support staff to make sure you get the best out of them as recruiters and still being able to cash in on what they're maybe really great at, which is development
I
and
actually have a
coaching.
story, Vince, that we've never told on Garnet and Old. I'm pulling way back to like 2 years ago. A coworker of ours, the former coworker for me, but coworker that we worked with, his name is Cody, had a friend that had been an assistant coach on Mike Norvell's staff in Memphis. At Memphis, he said his friend told him directly when Mike Norvell was at Memphis, if every single coordinator and coach on the team did not show up locked, loaded, prepared with every fact, every data point, every single part of practice, what they're going to do, he would eat them alive in front of, like, he'd be like, you need to get together. This has to be done. Get it done. Mike Norvell, as friendly as he is to the media, is not one to suffer fools. So if Randy Shannon was showing up every day, you know, just chilling, not getting the stuff done that Mike Norvell expects him to get done,
Just
Randy
waking up from a
Shannon,
nap.
yeah, he would not be here right now. So clearly, Mike Norvell sees value. It, listen, he probably brings some wisdom after years of coaching, being a head coach himself.
Absolutely. And
He
he
brings
does have
insight
connections in
in
South
South
Florida.
Florida. Now, clearly, if Mike Norvell extended all these coaches, then he believes that those coaches are better off here than another coach that he could bring in based on who's out there and available that he believes he could get. Because everyone wants to talk about fire everyone and every coach and every team, fire this person, fire that person, fire everyone. The, the question people can never really answer is who you going to replace them with?
Right. Who are you going to
What
replace him
elite
with?
defensive coordinator is going to leave? Are we gonna go get a defensive coordinator from Alabama to come coach at Florida? No, he's fine in Alabama. So the most you could do is get probably a younger coach to come up and try to fill that role that was a position coach somewhere else, or a D coach, a defensive coordinator, maybe in a lower level school. But that's not
Yeah.
a promise of success.
Oh, by the way, Leonard Hamilton is hot right now. I don't know what happened in the game, but he is losing it, and he does not lose it very often.
I thought you
Um,
meant like losing, like he's losing his.
no, he's
Okay.
losing his cool.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, I mean, again, we're all fans and we're emotional, right? So everybody is on their social media talking about, you know, why are we so predictable? These are the worst plays ever. I mean, it's such superficial nonsense. Um, but no one wants to, if you ask them a question, if you say, well, who would you rather get? Then pretty much you get crickets. And the only answer you get is, well, just not him. Right. So what are we going to do here? Oh, forgot about that. So sorry about the thumbs up there. But anyway, the coaching staff, they're doing a great job. Are they perfect? No. No coaching staff is perfect. But they went 13-0. So if
Yeah,
Mike Norvell wants to extend them, I'm all for it.
you know who it is, Vince. It's when you're at a great game, and I know everyone watching here, if you've been to a Florida State game or any sports game, you're sitting there. It's the guy standing up 3 rows ahead of you after every play saying, what was that? Call it, throw it deep. Oh,
Right,
why are
right.
you running the ball? What are you doing? There's that guy in the field that everyone's just kind of like, oh my God, sit down. Like every play you're doing this, it's the same
Yeah.
thing.
We've got Philip Dugas saying Ernie Sims. We've got another person saying the only name I've heard of for linebacker coach is Ernie Sims. So yeah, I mean, if it makes sense at the right time for that, absolutely. I'm always hesitant to bring in a former player because if it doesn't go well, that could be really awkward. But you never know.
I would love to bring in Jameis Winston so he could run a play in victory formation. If you guys have not seen the Jameis interview post game of the Saints game where he's talking about why they went for it in the victory formation, top tier Jameson. Shame on that
Top,
reporter for drilling him. And then how about all the players in the last couple of days coming out to support Jameis and saying so, multiple players have been saying he's the best teammate they've ever had. He is an amazing human being. We love Jabu. So man, I would take Jameis here in a heartbeat.
yeah,
Um,
you're right. You got to go watch that. It's funny. It's vintage Jameis, and yeah, it's good stuff. Um, Brett Taylor's letting us know too that he's in the I Trust Mike camp. Good for you. Um, until proven otherwise, right?
hashtag Mike's got us.
Mike's got us. I've seen that before. Jim, I got to throw this up because this made me laugh. We don't need a younger DC. Just look at Florida with their toolbox guy, the toolbox scheme. Yes, interesting that they hired an executive head coach for defense or something like that, which is not the defensive coordinator. I don't know what's going on there, but that can't be good. So Urban Meyer is available. I'm sure he is. If he's not too busy teaching leadership and integrity classes at Ohio State, Urban Meyer may be available.
Or groping a young lady at a local bar.
If you're in the chat here and you want us to kind of do a deeper dive on something, there's super chat available if you want. It's available, and that goes toward just production costs for us.
And
So
so far tonight, thank you to the two people that have
yeah,
donated. And they both of them just made comments that were general comments. But if you want us to
it was
cover
very
a
funny.
topic in detail, give us a super chat. We'll read it on air. Excited for everyone to be here.
The last thing I want to say about the portal, because we need to move on, I think, is that this is not the only portal window,
Yes.
right? So, just because, and somebody asked about the Ferguson guy from Bama, that's not a done deal yet, by the way. I don't know. I think it's coming soon, but he's an offensive lineman, I believe. But anyway, there's another portal window that happens later in the year, and you're going to possibly. I mean, that's when we got Keon Coleman,
Yeah,
right?
and Johnny Wilson.
So don't think that once this portal session is done, that
Jared
oh,
Verse
we
came in
have
the
what we
late
have.
period too, right?
Yeah, I don't remember with him, but and usually during those later periods, you can get some quality stuff there too, because maybe a coaching change happens and you get some higher level guys that are trying to find a different place to lay their head at night.
Vince, real quick, I want to touch on something. We're not going to talk about the national championship at all.
Well, I do have a banner for
Yes,
that.
go ahead, put it up.
All right, we're gonna talk about that then right now. The pageant.
My thoughts, the only thoughts I have on the playoff and the national championship is that I tuned in because of misleading news reports telling me that the NCAA football video game, would be revealed during the national championship. That was determined to be a lie. There was
There,
no NCAA football video game reveal, which I'm so frustrated about. Why would you not do it then? Since the game comes out in 6 months, it comes out in six
yeah,
months, and
I
we haven't seen
mean,
it at all.
I don't know, Ryan, but something got started on the interwebs, and somebody ran with it, right? Um, and it wasn't true. So what?
Sliced bread. It was probably
It
sliced
could have
bread
been.
at
It
at
could
a
have been
site
sliced
called
bread.
Bro Bible.
Yeah, somebody called sliced bread did it. I don't know. The only thing I wanted to say about the pageant, and by the way, if you did watch the pageant and you want to ask a question about that, please feel free to do so. Is that look at the stats of the quarterbacks in that game.
The whole event's really the entire playoff for the quarterfinals too, the semifinals too.
Yes. And that's the reason that they were touting, like the public reason that they were touting why Florida State the legitimate reason why Florida State wasn't in the top 4. Look at the quarterback play in those 3 games.
It
Not
was
great.
awful.
Not
Not
great.
great. And in all those games, the winners in the post game, they were like, "Oh, the man, that team, they were just handed challenge after challenge, and they found different ways to win every game that wasn't always about the offense. The defense really stepped up in all the wins. And I'm sitting there like, you sons of bitches. Like, Jared Verse would have eaten in that game. We would have had the probably most dominant defense in the playoff out of the four teams, playing a bunch of quarterbacks that could do absolutely nothing in the playoffs. I'm so it just makes me, Vince, I'm trying to forget it because it just makes me angry again.
Well, yeah, and they think we're dumb, right? It's like, no, there are receipts. The internet keeps receipts, and video is there for everybody to see. The things that you said were not important just to keep Florida State out are now important.
Yeah, but that just
No,
proves, Vince, that wasn't the real reason.
it wasn't the real reason. And this is the thing I said from the very beginning is like, and I know they can't do it, but just be genuine. We don't think Florida State's going to bring in the viewership, which is silly, by the way. Or Florida State ruffling too many feathers. It's
Yeah.
bad. It's bad pub to get them in there.
We all know, Vince, that their dream was to have Texas Alabama as the national championship. We all
Oh,
know
there's
that.
no doubt. There's no doubt that's what they wanted. And also, if we're gonna rant here, this would be a Tuesday tirade, is what we're gonna call this. How about Sankey opening up his pie hole again? Right? About how he's disappointed in all the vitriol about what happened when the teams were selected. Get out of here with that. No,
Yeah, imagine, Vince, for a second, the vitriol. If Alabama had not been put in the how many press appearances would he have done if we were picked above Alabama? Him saying how unfair that was.
I don't know. What he said was they already had a statement planned if an SEC team didn't make it. I'm sure you did, but that was written long before you got 10 minutes to stump for your conference leading
Yeah.
up to the snub. It's disingenuous. It's intellectually dishonest. They think that they can pull this stuff over because they think the media site. And here's the thing I love about FSU Twitter and FSU fan base in general is like, we ain't forgetting about this stuff.
I
We
will
are
never
not going to
forget.
forget. We are not going to forget. So, yeah, the quarterback play left a lot to be desired. And go figure, the defense won that game. Look at that. And I posted earlier today. Um, JT would have won the title. This team with JT would have won the title.
They
No
would have.
doubt in my mind. With the defense and the way they were playing, there's no doubt in my mind. But that wasn't an option because JT got hurt. We say, okay, with Tate, with this defense, 80% sure they win the title.
Hey,
So
if you're
forget it all.
if you're watching right now, and we have a bunch of people in the chat watching, can each one of you please do me a favor and just hit the like button for us once? We are getting close to certain milestones that will make it even better for us to do this show with our
Yeah,
we're a YouTube partner already, but uh, we're hitting some milestones that we need to get even further. So I'm just asking, if you're watching this video, please like the video and share it out in your social media. We are so close in the next few weeks to becoming another level in the YouTube partner program, and it allows us to, especially in the off season, continue to do multiple shows a week. And once the football season starts to rev back up next year, in-person shows, pregame, postgame, all the coverage you guys want. It will really help us. So if you're watching, please like the video tonight and subscribe to the channel.
absolutely. And make sure you follow Garnet Old on Twitter. I'm sorry, on X. Follow Ryan. Follow me. We will absolutely follow you back, and we can also point you in the direction of some other null accounts that we value, right? So if you're not tuned in with that, so that'd be great. So Jim, the FBI might be watching, right? You be
Yeah.
careful what we say here. We're not gonna threaten anybody. By the way, Wake Forest and Florida State are currently tied 34-34
Because of course they are.
because of course they are.
Yeah. Jim, you jinxed it. You put the score. We were looking real
Yeah.
good. Vince, what else are
So
we talking about?
I think that's it about the pageant, right?
Yeah, I
It's
don't have
over and
anything else
done
to say.
with, and there's really nothing else to talk about. I just wanted to make sure we all just kind of chuckled at the fact that the quarterback play was ridiculously not good. Um, last thing, or the another thing I wanted to talk about was the polls, right? So Ryan, tell me what your opinion is on the final AP poll.
All right. So how I've come to understand it in the past. Yeah. Real quick, Jim Muirner says, "Do you guys have an email?" Yes, garnetandold@gmail.com is our email address.
Yep.
But all right, final poll projections. How I've always looked at the final poll is after all is said and done, who do they think the best teams were at the end of the year? All right. Now they have the facts that we lost in a blowout fashion, but we lost because we were missing 25 plus players. And they only left us out, and all those players only didn't play because they said our quarterback was not going to be good enough to even give us a chance to win in a playoff. Uh, that turns out that wasn't the case based on the quarterback play we saw in the playoffs. So when I saw the rankings come out, and I know you have I think you have a graphic for it.
I don't
It
think I
was
do actually.
it was tough because I would have put us at minimum, Vince, at number 5, right where we were before all this, and I would have made a few flip flops. That's not important, but it really doesn't matter. That's what it comes down to. I used to be a guy I would log in and I would read all the polls all the time. What I've come to realize, and it will be even more true next season, the polls do not matter if it's a pageant at the end of the year. Why follow it all year? Vince, how many weeks in a row were we number 4?
Yeah, and then it didn't matter.
That didn't matter. We didn't lose a game. We won our conference championship by 10 points. And guess what? We still dropped.
With a third string quarterback.
So why does it matter to follow the polls ever again? Because we went so far.
Look at that magic.
If you guys truly think out there that we should be tied with Oregon based on the facts of the entire season, they are smoking crack. It's not possible. It's just
Yeah,
not.
it's not. But so when I looked at this today, I looked at the AP. I saw the poll, right, and then I saw you can tell where everybody voted, right.
Yeah.
And I think that there were 8 people maybe that had Florida State within the top 4, and the majority of people had us, 4 or 5 or 6, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
So, but then you read the AP piece about it, and it actually says in the piece that was written about Florida State having a rough bowl game, but it was due to all the opt outs. I mean, it literally says that, right? And so that actually makes me feel decent that that
They
people
acknowledged it.
they acknowledge that, and it's a real thing,
Mhm.
right? It's a real thing. So, uh, in my opinion, Michigan, number 1, cheaters or not, they won it. We'll see what happens going forward. Washington, and then the
Georgia.
who's got 1 loss?
Well, Vince, you know who I think should be the most mad on
Who's
this
got
list is
1 loss?
Florida State.
We should be number 3.
I would pick 4, but yeah.
But why? Who would be 3?
The eye test would tell me Georgia at
Yeah,
3.
you can't say that. You can't say that. I mean,
I
you
would
can say
say
that.
based on
You
the whole
can say that.
season, not against because of what they did against us, Vince. Me watching the games through the regular season, they should have, if anyone should have jumped Florida State to be in the playoff, I would have been. I would still have been mad. I would have been less mad if Georgia had hopped us instead of Alabama. I know that would have
Okay.
been counterintuitive, but I see Georgia as a. I think if Georgia played Alabama 10 times, they win 7 out of 10. And but I know this is a Florida State show, but Can I tell you who should be pissed at this list? Ohio State. How are they 10?
I don't know.
I don't like Ohio State at all. I'm not an Ohio State homer. I don't care anything about Ohio State. But the fact that they're 10 based on what I saw throughout the year compared to, some of these teams that look downright god awful, Alabama when they looked awful, they look real awful. Ole Miss had some inexplicable blunders.
Yeah.
It's so really what this means is that this list means nothing. It means nothing to
Yeah.
me, absolutely nothing.
Yep, that's fine. And you and I can basically we can come to an agreement that Florida State should be 3 or 4.
Yes. Yeah, I
So
agree.
good enough.
All right, Vince. Now, hey, everyone, we are still going to do a live show 7 o'clock Thursday, like we always
Always,
do. We
always.
will never miss that show, but we try to have some fun. And listen, it might be the football off season now, but it's not the Garden Old off season. We will continue to do multiple shows every single week. We will still provide content not just on Florida State football discussions, but also basketball, the Lady Knowles, baseball team. Like, a lot to look forward to. And listen, the basketball team has been trending up the last 2 games. So, support your other Knoll teams. Thanks so much, though. I mean, honestly, for how many people have been joining and interacting with us on the chat recently, subscribing and liking, you guys are awesome. Truly, you guys are the best fans in the world. We love you, and we couldn't do this without you.
Yeah, keep an eye out for not just our show, but Ryan and I were also guests on some other shows, and not just Florida State shows. So if you follow us on X, you'll be able to uh, keep track of that too, because it's not just the Garnet and Gold. There's some other shows that are great too, and Ryan and I get to be guests on those from time to time, and you can only know about that if you follow us. So. Trying to think if there's anything else to wrap this up. Hey,
We're gonna
by
go
the way,
watch some
yeah,
basketball.
we are about to go to commercial here, I think. Looks like Florida State might be back on top here, 42-41.
There we go.
Um, so, yeah, in your social media world, folks, we've already said it. Thank you so much for finding us, being part of the group here, being part of the family. Share it out if you don't mind. And Ryan and I will continue our climb of 1% better every day.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Garnet Old, no inside info, no contacts, no problem, Vince. Have a fantastic night, my friend. Send the Chiefs all the damn time. Go Knowles.
Go Knowles.